If you're thinking about getting your broker's license in the state of Texas, then watch this video to learn how. Hey, this is Vema, your awesome realtor and land developer, and today I'm going to talk about how I got my broker's license in the state of Texas and what you need to know if you want to get your broker's license. So there's a ton of videos out there on how to get your real estate license and become a sales agent, but there isn't a lot of videos on how to become a broker in the state of Texas. And I really struggled on how to figure out how, and even going to the TREC website, it really wasn't abundantly clear on the steps you need to take. So I thought it'd be really useful for me to make a video to show other people how to get their broker's license in the state of Texas. So before I go into detail about how to get your Texas broker's license and the process that I went through, I think it's really important to talk about why you should work on getting your broker's license. So when you're a sales agent, you have to work underneath a broker. You're essentially like their apprentice until you become a broker. So once you become a broker, you can start your own brokerage and just work for yourself. And you can also have other agents work underneath you if you decide to open up your own brokerage. But if you decide you want to stay with the brokers that you're at, you can work as a broker associate. And also there's a lot of clout to being a broker. Especially in the space that I work in, I mainly work in the commercial space. It doesn't look as good when you're just a normal sales agent, and being a broker has a lot of clout. And from a tax perspective, sales agents, they get paid like as under their social security number as like a 1099, where if you're a broker, you can get paid under an LLC or an S corp of some sort. So there's a lot of tax benefits that you can get. So let's go to the next step and what you have to do in order to get your brokerage. And the first step is the educational requirements. So in the state of Texas, you need 900 credit hours in order to get your broker's license, and it's typically broken up into two sections. So you typically will need 270 real estate related courses, and if you have a college degree, that will be equates to 630 credit hours. Now, if you don't have a college degree, then you're gonna have to just earn the credits through taking lots of courses, and it's a little time consuming, but it's very manageable. But it's a process you need to start early, because 630 hours is quite a bit of time that you're going to have to put in, but it's not as much time as having a 4-year degree in college, so it's not that bad. For the 270, there's a good chance you probably have already obtained these hours, because in the first 2 years you have to take 90 hours of real estate related courses, and in order to get your license you had to obtain 180 hours, so that totals to 270 right there. So after 2 years, you theoretically have all the hours that you need. One last important point about the educational requirements is you have to take a real estate brokerage course within 2 years of when you apply for an application and take your broker's license test. So the next step is your experience level. And pretty much the way it works is 4 out of the last 5 years, you need to obtain 3,600 experience points. And so the way you get experience points is by doing real estate work like management, leases, commercial sales, residential sales. That's how you obtain experience points. And there's a lot of different ways, and a lot of the points values change, but to kind of keep things simple, whenever you do you close on a residential sale, you get 300 points. So for 3,600 points, that's essentially 12 transactions. So it's not that difficult in 4 years, and if you're an active agent at all, this is a very easy thing to obtain after 4 years. And so essentially, you have to at least have an agent for 4 years in order to get your license. So the next step after that is essentially just fill out an application with TREC. And the best way to do this is just call them. They're going to tell you how to send all these documents for your educational requirements, for your experience points, and how to file your application. I found this really difficult, and it really wasn't intuitive to me, even through the TREC website, so I just called them, and they just really walked me through it, and that's what I really suggest to anybody. And after you've done your application, all you gotta do after that is get a background check and get fingerprinted. And there's a really good chance that you've already done this when you've got your real estate license already, so there's a good chance you don't have to do that. At least when I was applying for my broker's license, I didn't have to do that again because I had already done it 4 years ago. So after my application was accepted and I was now able to go take my broker's exam or take the broker's test, I decided for me, I needed to take a prep course. And I really strongly suggest to anyone who's getting their broker's license and has to take the test you really need to take that prep course, because a lot of that facts that you took as a sales agent for the exam back 4 or 5 years or longer, you've most likely forgotten, because those are things you don't use in your daily practice. So I strongly suggest taking a prep course. And the prep course I ended up going in with is the Champion School of Real Estate. They were reasonably priced, and it was a place where I could take multiple times if I wanted to, so I thought it'd be really good to just take it there. So one of the things I learned when taking the prep course is that the prep course is the same as becoming a sales agent, and the exams for becoming a broker and the sales agent are really similar. There's only like minor differences, and so for most schools that do the prep course, the broker's course and the sales agent course are the same. But even though the courses are the same, the tests are a little bit different, and the requirements for passing are also a little bit different. For a sales agent, all they need is a 70% to pass, but for a broker, you needed to get a 75%. And also, your test is a little bit longer than a sales agent's has. So that's just, I don't know if it's a plus or a minus, but the 75% it's an additional amount, so they expect a little bit more from you. So the prep course that I took was a 2-day course where a teacher just kind of goes over all the material that you're going to have to know for the exam. And after that, I took a practice exam, and I got a 59%. And I need to get a 75%. So I had to make up a lot of ground, and I realized quickly that I'm going to have to study a lot. So I decided that I was going to take the prep course again 3 weeks later, but I needed a way to kind of study a little bit better in between those 3 weeks. So during those 3 weeks, I used a software, Prep Agent, which is essentially a bunch of flashcards, and they just pretty much just give you question after question, and if you get a question wrong, they kind of explain what was the right answer and why this was the best answer. So I took a bunch of practice questions, took a bunch of practice tests to kind of get myself ready. And so then I took the prep course again, which is still like another 2-day course, but fortunately I didn't have to pay for it again since I've already paid for it once. And then that's when I felt a lot better about the exam. And after that prep course, when I took a practice exam, I got an 85%. And I would say once you're passing your practice exams, that's when it's probably time to go ahead and schedule an exam. And so when I first took my real estate sales agent exam, I failed it the first time, and I had to retake it in order to pass and get my license. So this time I wanted to make sure I practiced enough so that I didn't have that case. So went ahead and scheduled the exam through Pearson VUE, and I will say it was, or at least I felt it was a lot more difficult than the sales agent exam that I took 4 years ago. But fortunately, I think I just barely passed through it. So they don't tell you what your score is. All they tell you if you pass, if you fail, do they explain how many you got right and how many you got wrong. But fortunately, I passed, so I was able to get my broker's license. And it definitely is it takes a little bit of time, and there's a lot you need to put into it. But I would say it's definitely worth it, because at the end of the day, if you ever want to have agents work underneath you or just work on your own, you need to be a broker. And I think that's a really big, from a status or clout perspective, is really important, especially in the commercial world. So I cannot stress that enough. So if you're thinking about getting your broker exam, my suggestion is go for it. And it will require a little bit of studying, but I strongly suggest doing it. So this is Vema signing out. Please like and subscribe, as I'm going to have more videos coming to you soon.